This is Bloodborne story explained by VtuberEN.
The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear
Hi, Entity.
is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft.
Our eyes are yet to open. Fear the old blood.
These were the words spoken between Master Willem and Lawrence, from
Master
the cautious
Willem.
teacher to the ambitious student. Fear what you do not understand. Fear the old blood. And so our story begins, as you might have guessed, with blood. Ancient blood. Deep below the city of Yharnam lies the ancient underground labyrinth of Tumeru.
That's
You know
telly.
it as the Chalice Dungeons. The old labyrinth was carved out by the Tumerians, superhuman beings that are said to have discovered a sinister truth. The hunters had another name for the labyrinth. They called it the Tomb of the Gods, for below they found traces of godlike beings named the Great Ones. The Great Ones could function on transcendental planes of thought, meaning they had elevated their consciousness
There's,
beyond the physical realm.
Clump's aunt right
The
there.
benefits of operating on this plane are unclear. Perhaps it was in the name of immortality, or perhaps power, as even beyond, the Great Ones could interfere with beings and events in the waking world. Whatever the case, it is clear that some sort of ascension took place, as there are numerous references to some Great Ones being left behind. Of all the strange life forms that reside in the nooks and crannies of the old labyrinth, the slugs are clear signs of the left-behind Great Ones. One such Great One appears to be abandoned Ebritus, a left-behind being who apparently did not ascend with her brethren. One day, Ebritus would be discovered by the humans above, in a crusade that begins with a character named Willem. Master Willem presided over a prestigious place of learning, Byrgenwerth. Situated by a tranquil lake and secluded within a gigantic forest, Byrgenwerth housed the minds that would change the world. In fact, everything sacred in Yharnam came to be traced back to Byrgenwerth, including the most influential characters within our story. Bloodborne's lore is very character-driven, and there are 5 who I'm going to help you become familiar with. There was Master Willem, Runesmith Carol, Lawrence, Mikolash, and German. I'll introduce them to you in the order that they become relevant in the story. As I said, Master Willem was the head of the school at Byrgenwerth. The man was obsessed with the truth and believed in pushing the limits of humanity. In almost every dialogue and description, Willem is referred to as Master or Provost, clearly deserving of a great deal of respect. Many would eventually diverge from his tutorage, but few can say that they didn't owe everything to his research, for while Willem presided over Byrgenwerth, the scholars there discovered terrific things in the tombs below the city of Yharnam.
Okay, so what I got so far is the master, as they call him. He has like they call it like a school or like an educational facility, and the tunnels where Clump's aunt is under the facility. Is that what? Am I correct so far? So they send people down there to like study or like hunt the monsters that are in like the maze or whatever. I'm trying to make sure I'm following.
Once, a group of young Byrgenwerth scholars discovered a holy medium.
Old boy Willem has a university. The tombs were found underground around the facility's general location. Okay. So do they send people down in the tombs, or is the tombs like a general open to the public thing where like hunters and other people can go? I finished the game and did all the trophies, but I don't know the story. They send people to do research stuff. Okay. Thank you, Sabujo.
Deep within the tomb. This led to the founding of the Healing Church and the establishment of blood healing.
It's hard to be sure exactly what was found, but we do know it was related to the Great Ones. On the ground floor of Bergenworth College, we find the pearl slugs, remnants of the Great Ones, and at the very top of the college, we find the empty phantasm shell, an empty invertebrate shell that is said to be the familiar of a Great One. After this discovery...
A Great One's a god, right? The hunters do not exist this early in the lore. Okay. So, more or less a god. Okay, so they're collecting the slugs that are left behind by the gods for some reason or another.
Whatever it was that showed them that the Great Ones existed, the Bergenworth scholars launched an inquiry into the Great Ones and the Old Blood. For from this point onwards, there is an explosion of lore and history and references to what the scholars found in the tombs below Yharnam. Many of these references come from runesmith Carol, the second character of our
who
story.
studies standard math
Carol
science and stuff. Okay.
transcribed the inhuman utterance.
So they collect like the slugs so they can study the old, so they can study the old gods or the elder. I already forgot what they called the elders. They grab the slugs so they can study the elders. Are they trying to prove that they existed, or do they know that they existed but they just want to study them?
Of the Great Ones into what we now call Carol runes. In true Lovecraftian fashion, it is really likely that it's impossible for humans to comprehend the speech of the Great Ones. But Carol apparently had a knack, a talent for creating a visual representation of the Great One's words. The hunter who receives this workshop tool can etch Carol runes into their mind to attain their wondrous strength. Provost Willem would have been proud of Carol's runes, as they do not rely upon blood in any measure. This statement is curious. It tells us three things. First, Provost Willem and Carol were close, as Willem would have been proud of him. And second, Willem didn't have a chance to be proud, so it's possible that the two lost contact. And thirdly, and most importantly, Willem would have been proud because the runes did not rely on blood. In other words, Willem did not approve the use of the Old Blood, the blood found in the Tomb of the Gods. The Metamorphosis rune states, the discovery of blood made their dream of evolution a reality. Metamorphosis and the excesses and deviation that followed was only the beginning.
Okay, so, Carl? Is that what you said his name was? Carl and the Master Willem, they were like they had like a master-student relationship, but Carl discovered like the blood in the tombs and he wanted to use the blood to further human evolution, but the master didn't approve of that and didn't like that, so he stopped considering him his student. And I assume they got into like an argument in a fight. Carl doesn't use blood. Willem used blood? Wait, so Willem's the one that wants to use the blood and Carl's the one that disapproves? Oh. So Willem's not disappointed in Carl, he's disappointed in another character that uses the blood. Okay.
Willem believed in a different path. He believed in attaining more insight, for humanity's eyes had yet to open. The Eye rune states that Master Willem looked to beings from higher planes for guidance.
Okay. So the Master and Carl are on the same side. It's another student that the Master is disapproved of because he uses the blood. Or she, I don't know.
And sought to line his brain with eyes in order to elevate his thoughts. And with these descriptions, you should have some idea of the scale of ambition of
I
these
need to talk it out
characters.
sometimes,
With
chat.
the discovery
I
of
apologize.
beings greater than them came a desire to ascend into godhood, to push humanity into its next stage of evolution. The only question was how? Blood or insight?
Willem was proud of Carl because he found a way to further humanity without blood. Okay.
It's how
so Carl's like his
at the
star
cutscene
student.
we started at earlier, with Master Willem and Lawrence parting ways.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell. Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
From this cutscene, we can infer that Lawrence was a high-ranking student of Master
Lawrence?
Willem. Because firstly, Lawrence refers to Willem as Master, and secondly, Willem clearly regards Lawrence highly enough to call this departure a betrayal.
No, but you...
Is it Lawrence that wants to use the blood? So Lawrence wants to use the blood to further humanity. And Willem was disappointed in him and... okay. So Carl and Lawrence are both students under William. Carl is basically William's star student, and he found a way to revolutionize humanity without blood. But Willem wanted to use the blood to revolutionize humanity. Is it because he thinks it's a better way and a stronger method? I assume. Like, he must have his reasons as to why he thinks it's better to use blood than not. But Master William disapproves of using the Elder God's blood in the first place. So he... What's the word? Discarded him as a student. The blood heals people. There's got to be like some kind of twist, because if the blood heals people, there's got to be like some kind of dark twist of how it heals people. Is it like solely killing them as it heals them? Like a counterintuitive kind of way? It turns them into beasts. Okay. Lawrence left on his own? Okay. Oh, Lawrence left on his own and Master William considers that a betrayal. That's why he said that earlier. Okay. Sorry, I need to talk it out. Carl and William, they're both students Carl and Lawrence are both students under William. Carl found a way to evolve humanity without blood, but William wants to use the blood to evolve humanity. I assume he knows it's because it turns him into beasts and he finds that as a better course for humanity. Like, the only way we can be humans is to be a part of them, right? Kind of thing. I'm assuming. But Carl just wants humanity to be humanity. Like, we can't be beasts. Then we're no better than them. Kind of type shit, right?
You will never listen.
Lawrence disagrees. He does not see it as betrayal, and here we come to the heart of what their disagreement is about. Essentially, it boils down to the difference between the two resources in the game.
I don't think they knew William just had unreal level intuition. Okay. So Lawrence didn't know that the blood turns humans into beasts. But he has like a feeling, and he has like, he knows the blood is better because it makes humans stronger in some sort of way. He just doesn't know it turns them into werewolves. He doesn't know it turns them into doggies.
Game. Willem believes man requires insight and knowledge to ascend. Lawrence believes in the power of blood. Lawrence attempts to reassure Willem, telling him he will always fear the old blood, but that this fear will not stop him using it.
I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood. I must take my leave.
Is that Lawrence?
Lawrence leaves the Bergenworth scholars, presumably with a small group of rebels, and goes on to found the Healing Church. Willem.
Okay. So Lawrence, because he wants to... I can't talk. Lawrence, because he wants to use the blood to further humanity, he leaves the college and like develops his own religion and church. And then I assume they also go down into the tombs to get more blood for their research and everything. Okay. Gotcha. Creates a healing church to heal people with blood. But he doesn't know that that the blood turns humans into werewolves. I assume that's like a major, like one part of a path, a branching path you can take, right? Where he eventually discovers what it does to humans.
Remains at Byrgenwerth and attempts to elevate his thoughts to a higher plane. He will return to our story at a later time, so while I tell you of what Lawrence went on to do, imagine Willem here in Byrgenwerth, sitting in his rocking chair over the lake, musing on how to acquire insight and elevate his thoughts.
He died way before
he
didn't even...
Everything Lawrence would come...
Okay, so either he did or he... So it's not really stated whether he knew or not before he died. Turned into a beast that skull on the altar is his. So he got the bad ending. Well, obviously, he was using the blood.
To achieve was based on the knowledge he had come by in Byrgenwerth. In retrospect, we clearly see why Willem saw Lawrence's departure as a betrayal. Perhaps Willem himself even planted these ideas in Lawrence's mind. A note in the lecture hall reads,
I think he found out when it began to affect him. Though at that point it would have been too late, right? I would assume it's probably like a sudden transformation, like how typical werewolf in media is depicted. Like it probably wasn't like a slow change over time. It was probably like sudden and like instantaneous kind of. Or at least around the time, but that is way after he began to giving the blood to the people. It said that clerics of the church turn into the most hideous beasts. Yeah, we see that happening to a few characters in the game. It's very sudden. Okay. So he wouldn't even had time to like make up with his master or anything. That's kind of sad. Like he was kind of blinded by his own ambition. He didn't even get the chance to like make up with his master or anything.
Right. Evolution without courage will be the ruin of our race. Lawrence had courage, but it is likely that his courage bordered on arrogance. The Byrgenwerth student uniform states, the Healing Church has its roots in Byrgenwerth and naturally borrows heavily from its uniform design. The focus not on knowledge or thought, but on pure pretension would surely bring Master Willem to despair if only he knew. So Lawrence threw caution to the wind and put his faith in the old blood.
Aww.
Think on human history. Imagine if, in any era, a church was founded that had access to a substance that could cure any illness. Imagine if this church gave it freely to a city, how powerful that city would become, and how powerful the church would become within it. This is exactly what happened in Yharnam.
I kind of understand though. Like, if someone told you, hey, I have basically ambrosia. Like I can cure any disease or illness that you have right now. And even if you don't have any disease or illness, this just makes you physically and mentally better. And you have proof that it works. And they show you that it actually works. It's kind of... I don't blame them for following, honestly. Like if you have like a sick child and doctors can't do anything... Eventually, you're going to have to go for like a third-party source if it's proven to work. That doesn't obviously work in our reality, but I understand in like a fictional reality that was probably like their last resort kind of thing, you know?
People came far and wide to be treated with the miraculous blood of the gods, and the people of Yharnam put
like
their
these fucking
faith
clerics
in the
and
church.
shit. Nobody can help.
What happened in Yharnam is
I'm gonna use this blood.
To what
If it's gonna
happened
save
in
my
the tombs
child.
deep below, where the blood was originally found. And as you know, many chalice dungeons, especially those of Loran, are now overrun
kinda sad,
by horrific
though.
beasts. The lower Loran chalice states, there are trace remains of medical procedures in parts of ailing Loran. Whether these were attempts to control the scourge of the beasts or the cause of the outbreak is unknown. The ailing Loran chalice states, the tragedy that struck...
Yeah, because not even like literally Lawrence, the leader of the church, didn't even know. So like obviously, if there's no, if they tell you, oh, there's no drawbacks, we tested it on a lot of people, we have not seen any negative effects whatsoever, then yeah, you're gonna believe it. Yeah, if that's literally your last resort, your last option, if no cleric or doctor or anything can help you, your child, your partner, or anyone in your family or friends, then yeah, I totally get it. At some point, the church definitely found out, but well, that's just the higher ups at fault there. I want to think that Lawrence had good intentions with the blood, wanting to save humanity, but I believe if he found out in time, then he would have eventually stopped using it, and he would have like, hey, this shit's actually bad for you. I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
This ailing land of Loran is said to have its root in the scourge of the beast. Some have made the dreaded extrapolation that Yharnam may be next. Yharnam was next.
I mean, Lawrence doesn't know.
Healing blood, the city would eventually succumb.
And Lawrence a bad character, and I'm justifying him for like no reason.
Church managed to grow in power with the miraculous healing properties of their special yet
Lawrence like actually an asshole, and I'm defending him.
To become a city of worship and fear. As you explore throughout the city, you see the influence of the church everywhere. With Yharnam's resources, Lawrence clearly had the power to grow the church beyond what would have been possible at
Lawrence had good
Byrgenwerth.
intent. Okay.
All the while, he
if
continued
Lawrence ultimately
the
had good
labyrinth.
intentions and he was a good person, then I stand by what I said. I'm of the opinion, based on what I know now, Lawrence had good intentions, and he's actually a good character. He just thought like his master and his classmate Carl just couldn't see. Like, guys, we have the solution right here. What do you mean? Like, I can understand, I can empathize a little bit. Like, he's just ambitious. He wants to help people.
Below Yharnam, the tomb prospector said reads, attire of the tomb prospectors.
At least that's
who
my
explore the old
opinion, my
labyrinth on behalf
interpretation
of
so
the
far.
Healing Church. The Healing Church traces its roots to Byrgenwerth and is therefore aware of the ruins' true importance. These ruins contain much more.
I don't know, he's eternally catching fire on the Hell in DLC. Well, that's probably because he died while turning into a monster, to be fair. But I don't know.
More than hunter trinkets. Indeed, they hide the very secrets of the old Great Ones, sought after by those with the insight to imagine greatness. On top of this, Lawrence split the church into multiple branches, each with a different purpose. There was the choir, the School of Mensis.
It is possible you can end up doing bad things, but your intentions were good. And I would say it's okay, because you ultimately had good intentions. Like, you didn't purposely do the bad thing. He wasn't purposely turning people into monsters. I don't know why I'm defending him so hard. I don't even know the character personally. But it's to me, it's ultimately okay. Like, as long as you learn your lesson. But he didn't have the chance to learn his lesson. We don't know what he would have done if he was still alive and he found out, because he's dead. Something hell is paid with good intentions, something. Yeah, sometimes. It's just, unfortunately, Lawrence was on the wrong path, and he was using blood that was turning people into dog boys.
And the workshop. We'll get to these branches as they become appropriate, but the main purpose of the church, at least to the people of Yharnam, was the administration of blood healing. Within the Grand Cathedral itself lies a note that says, heir to the ritual of blood, purveyor of ministration, place your hand upon the altar's sacred covering and inscribe Master Lawrence's adage upon your flesh. Blood ministers would have been those who administered the blood healing. How else would the people of Yharnam be so obsessed with blood? In Yharnam, they produced more blood than alcohol, as the former.
I feel like the intention is a little less important in the process of going to hell when you screw over such a massive populace with werewolf serum. Well, he didn't know. We're assuming that he never found out, and he basically found out the moment he turned into a werewolf. So we don't have like the option to like know what he would have done after he had that information.
Is more intoxicating. However, the ministration of blood was likely a means to an end, for the healing church still intended to commune with the Great Ones in hopes of ascending humanity to a higher plane. This task was given to the choir, a group who were a part of the healing church.
Don't ask the healing church what they did to old Yarna. I won't ask, okay. He could go to hell for it without it being intentional. Like, I understand that. I get that. I understand. Like, he still did a bad act. Whether it was good intentioned, he still did a bad act. He basically infected an entire country. Or like the people that were in his church, at least. So yeah, I understand that, Nikolai.
Members of the choir are both the highest ranking clerics of the healing church and scholars who continued the work that began at Byrgenwerth. The eye covering indicates their debt to the teachings of Master Willem, even though their paths diverged. The choir, garbed in black and white, with the familiar eye covering, occupied the upper cathedral ward. It seems to have been their job to research and make contact with the Great Ones. The Great Is Chalice became the cornerstone of the choir, the elite delegation of the healing church. It was also the first great chalice brought back to the surface since the time of Byrgenwerth and allowed the choir to have audience with Ebritus. Ebritus was the left-behind Great One, who came to reside below the Grand Cathedral. We are told that the Grand Cathedral is the birthplace of the healing church's special blood. And
wait, so why was Ebritus, the daughter of the Cosmos, why was she left behind? Is it because she's bad?
And if the church were indeed using the blood of the Great Ones, then who's to say it wasn't Ebritus's blood? The Augur of Ebritus is one of the secret rites of the choir, used by the high-ranking members of the healing church. Use phantasms, the invertebrates known to be augurs of the Great Ones, to partially summon abandoned Ebritus, one of the few rites that allow one to directly utilize the power of the Great Ones and evidence that the choir had approached the Eldritch truth. The Augur of Ebritus is an arcane method of fighting that was actually shared with the second...
Wait, the healing church was using Ebrius and like channeling her power for their own? Is that what I heard? I failed the skill check. They were basically holding a god hostage and siphoning her power for themselves. That's kind of crazy.
Second subsection of the healing church, the School of Mensis. The upper echelons of the healing church are formed by...
Where else would they get... How the fuck has she not died? They were siphoning her blood too? How she... Well, she's a god. So I assume she would have like an infinite amount of blood, but the lore implies that she was chill. She was okay with it. Well, I if you were left behind and you don't even know why, then I guess you just make life of what you got. I guess.
The School of Mensis, based in the Unseen Village. This brings us to our next important character, Mikolash, who was like...
She's depressed because she was left behind. Oh, I feel kind of bad for her now.
Likely the head of the School of Mensis. The School of Mensis was, as the name implies, a place of learning, research, and experimentation for the healing church.
She was basically abandoned by her family.
The healing church has its roots in
and now she's being used and abused by the church.
From its uniform design. The school was based below Yharnam, in a place called Yahar'gul, the Unseen Village. Clearly, the work of Mensis was intended to be kept a secret from the people of Yharnam. In fact, as time went on, the school increasingly seems to have been working alone, even separately from the healing church itself. The Yahar'gul attire tells us, the hunters of Yahar'gul answer to the village's founders, the School of Mensis. Hunters in name only, these kidnappers blend into the night wearing this attire. These were not true hunters. That title was saved for the third subsection of the healing church, the Hunters of the Workshop. these capable warriors of the church appeared as the scourge of the beast began to show in Yharnam. The workshop hunters served under Gurman, the first hunter, who you're all familiar with. The hunter attire reads, one of the standard articles of hunter attire fashioned at the workshop, a fine piece of hunter attire that provides stable defense to anyone facing Yharnam's beastly threat.
Alright, so based on what we know, those werewolves right there used to be people? And the church developed hunters to like hunt down the people that were turned into werewolves?
Allows one to stalk beasts
Either
unannounced
people or
by
animals,
cover
okay.
of night. It's possible the unannounced part of that sentence is to do with killing beasts without them noticing you, but it could also be
Okay,
because
damn,
the
he's getting
workshop was a
comboed.
secret institution. The original workshop is located in a very hard to find part of Cathedral Ward, and think about it, you don't want the townsfolk believing that the blood is turning them into beasts. When that information is floating around, you want to avoid panic at all costs.
I'm quite sure it's implied that the ones on the bridge were specifically the ones on the bridge were horses. Not even the horses are safe.
So the hunters hunted beasts under the cover of night, but the hunters and the beastly scourge couldn't stay a secret forever. In what would come to be called Old Yharnam, a new disease appeared.
Are they only werewolves? Or do they also get turned into other types of monsters? Like, are those crows also like a person or an animal that got turned by the blood? Or is it only the werewolves specifically that humans and animals get turned by the blood? There's some that turn into snake masses. Okay. So all the monsters in the game in the world are all humans and or animals that have taken blood and were changed by it.
It was called ashen blood. I call it a disease, but the small medicinal tablets used to treat it actually counteract poison. A tablet used to treat ashen blood, the baffling sickness that ravaged Old Yharnam long ago.
The crows are probably just crows that grew due to consuming corpses that had old blood. It makes sense if the horses get hurt, you ain't getting around anymore, so splash some blood on that. Have there been instances where did someone pay pig? Hello. Thank you for following. Why didn't I get the notif for that? Like, I didn't hear anything come off at all. I'm sorry. What'd I say? I just lost my... Oh! Have there been instances in this game where the people try to take advantage of the... of the monsters and they like use them for like recreational stuff, like to pull a wagon or something? Or are they too wild to be controlled? When did that happen? It just says now. I didn't get a notif at all. I'm sorry. Monsters are very bloodthirsty. Gotcha.
These tablets only provide short-term relief. The ashen blood ailment eventually triggered the spread of the beastly scourge. Think about that. We know that the old blood heals every illness. We know that the old blood causes the beastly scourge, and we now know that the ashen blood caused the beastly scourge to spread. In short, it seems like people were infected with the ashen blood, and the medicine that they had only provided short-term relief, and they were forced to imbibe the old blood instead. It's even...
What's the ashen blood? I think I missed that. Is that like another version of the old blood? Grab some food. Don't leave me. I have questions. Go get your food.
Possible that the healing church used this ashen blood to gain power, swooping in with this miracle cure and liberating the people from the ashen blood disease. Since ashen blood seems poisonous in nature,
it's the name of the disease that struck old Yharnam. Oh. So ashen blood was a disease that struck Old Yarnum. So people that were infected by the disease, they used the old blood to help with the disease. But it didn't cure them, obviously. It turned them into beasts eventually. Okay, thank you.
Perhaps the church even poisoned the populace just for that excuse to use the old blood, because that excuse to get the populace to believe in you, that would have been so powerful. But whatever the case, the beastly scourge was
The
triggered
church spread
overwhelmingly
the disease.
in all the
I mean, that's not surprising, honestly. That's just a theory, I think he said. It wouldn't surprise me that if the church spread the disease, so they have an excuse to use the old blood on the people.
We know that much, to the point where they actually had to burn it down and cordon off Old Yarnum from the rest of the city. The red moon hangs low, and beasts rule the streets. Are we left no other choice than to burn it all to cinders? With this, the hunt became known to all. Perhaps the church feared an uprising from the people of Yarnum, for a note in central Yarnum reads, "When the hunt began, the healing church left us, blocking the great bridge to Cathedral Ward as Old Yarnum burned to the ground that moonlit night." As a result, Gurman's workshop was sealed.
And I'm thinking, is it possible that they probably infected the food and water with the old blood too? Like, I would assume if it's called old blood, it kind of does look very much like blood, like kind of a thick red consistency or something. So it probably would be easy to tell if your water was infected by the blood. That's a stupid thought, never mind.
And closed. With the scourge of the beast known to all, perhaps there was no need for secrecy anymore. The Saw Hunter badge comes to read, "Badge crafted long ago at the workshop, attests to one's prowess as a hunter of beasts. The workshop is gone, and no group recognizes this meaningless badge." At this point, the church retreats. They block themselves off in Upper Cathedral Ward and come up with a new strategy for dealing with the scourge of the beasts that is spreading throughout Yarnum. Eventually, the workshop hunters would disband, and the church founded the Church Hunter Workshop in its place. Ludwig was the chief hunter of the Healing Church,
Ludwig,
which consisted of hunters garbed in black and white.
I don't know, I just find the
Black
name
Church
Ludwig
Hunter
kind of
attire
cool.
reads, "Most Healing Church hunters are elementary doctors who understand the importance of early prevention of the scourge, achieved by disposing of victims, even potential victims, before signs of sickness manifest themselves. Their black attire is synonymous with fear and that peculiar Yarnum madness. The Black Church Hunter's job was clear. Remove any sign of the scourge of the beast, even if it hasn't manifested itself yet. The fear that it inspired in the citizens shows most in Upper Cathedral Ward are deathly afraid of the church. The White Church Hunters' jobs were a bit different. These doctors are superiors to the Black Preventative Hunters and special."
Essentially just kill that's what the doctors are for? Wait, who developed the doctor? Was it the church again? Or was it the college this time? Wait. It was the church? So, hold on. The Healing Church, first of all, possibly spread the disease, so they have an excuse to like preach to people to use the old blood to heal. They keep a god hostage in the basement to siphon her blood, so they have like a limited source of blood to use on the people. They also have hunters to like both hunt. They have multiple like branches of hunters to both hunt the monsters that they created and the humans that they infected. Talk about have your cake and eat it too. What the fuck is going on with the Healing Church?
Specialists in experimentally backed blood ministration and the scourge of the beast. They believe that medicine is not a means of treatment, but rather a method of research, and that some knowledge can only be attained by exposing oneself to sickness. Their experimentation might explain the
When people turn into werewolves, they abandoned the people, then sent hunters to kill everyone that has ever made contact with the blood, even if they aren't turning. But they're the ones that are giving everybody the blood. What's the end goal? Like I don't think I can fathom. I don't understand.
the monstrously large church giants who would have been particularly useful in the fight against the beasts. Ludwig's greatsword exhibits several departures from the workshop's design, suggesting that the church anticipated much larger inhuman
They don't
beasts.
care, they said psych.
On top of this, Ludwig took a much more overt approach to beast hunting. Nightly, he would
There's got to be something more to both spreading the blood and hunting the monsters and the humans. Is it like some kind of ritual? Are they trying to summon another god like Ebertus? Are they trying to summon another god or something? Or are they truly shooting themselves in the foot constantly?
embark upon central Yharnam across the Great Bridge to fight back against the beasts. But he was not alone. The population
Is this
of
what
central
Lawrence
Yharnam joined the
wanted?
hunters'
I don't think the church that he's telling me about now is truly what Lawrence wanted. The key is that they don't really understand what's going on. Not fully, at least. So do they know that it's both? At this point, because you said eventually they learned that what the blood does, but they still continue to do it anyway. Still continue to give people blood. At what point do they learn about the truth? Is it later in the game? Is it like one of the final stretches of a path in the game? Because I don't understand. Because I understand if it's like at the end, it's like a bad ending to one of the paths, where you die or you like turn a blind eye to what they're doing after they found out. By the time that the game takes place, the church definitely knows. Then what the fuck are they doing? I think my brain's hurting at their. I don't know what to call it. Do I call it stupidity? Do I call it audacity? It's not It's not the audacity. It's the fucking gall. That's the word. We explore the aftermath of the church's actions, damage controlling and maintaining power. But they're creating. Eventually, they're gonna run out of humans to give blood to. What's next? Are they just gonna start giving it to the babies and start hunting the babies that turn into the werewolves? Because eventually, it's gotta run out. Eventually.
well, swelling the ranks of the hunters. Ludwig, the first hunter of the Healing Church, once recruited Yharnamites to serve as hunters. This hunter's attire was made for new recruits and has excellent
That's a
straightforward
lower
defense,
class problem.
but not nearly enough to allow an ordinary man to stand.
They didn't take into account that the human population is only so much. My brain is kind of hurting now because I'm having a hard time understanding what the church is doing.
Any real chance against the beasts. It sounds like a very clever move, as it probably stopped the populace blaming the church and likely formed more of a us versus them mentality. Meanwhile, in Bergenworth, Master Willem had an epiphany. We are thinking on the basest of planes. What we need are more eyes. Willem took this very literally. The remaining students of Bergenworth appear to have been transformed into multi-eyed, fly-like creatures, and more importantly, Willem himself found an umbilical cord of a Great One, which was a very significant and powerful artifact. Provost Willem sought the cord
An
in order to
umbilical cord?
elevate
They're
his
born?
being and thoughts to those of a Great One by lining his...
Wait, what? How the fuck did he just find an umbilical cord? First of all, second of all, how the fuck is that? Well, I guess it's because it's a god umbilical cord, so it probably wouldn't rot and dust and disappear. I guess. How do you know it was an umbilical cord? I'm sorry, Master. I don't mean to question. I just have, there's so many thoughts running through my mind right now.
His brain with eyes. The only choice he knew if man were ever to match their greatness. Used to gain insight and
Someone
so
left
say,
it in the couch
eyes on the
cushions.
inside. Although no one
Wait, did he say before that Master William turned the students into these fly-like creatures? Why did he do that? I thought Master William was kind of at least a decently good guy.
remembers what that truly entails. It's difficult to know exactly how Willem came across or created an umbilical cord, so we'll have to go into that in another video. Just know that he has one for now.
Basically, Great Ones do just be eldritch life forms. Their title as gods is more related to how humans perceive them. Yeah, I guess to them they would be considered gods. Yeah. I don't know if he turned them, but he wasn't opposed to it. Okay. Okay, Master William.
When we encounter Willem, he directs us to the Great Lake. The power of great bodies of water is actually referenced in a few runes. Great volumes of water serve as a bulwark guarding sleep, and an augur of the eldritch truth. Overcome this hindrance, and seek what is yours.
The eldritch truth.
The lake, and what lies within it, hides the truth. Rom, the Byrgenwerth spider, lies within, and there's a lot we don't know about her, but I'll tell you what we do know. The Byrgenwerth spider hides all manner of rituals, and keeps our lost master from us, a terrible shame. The spider is certain to reveal nothing, for true enlightenment need not be shared. I believe this is what the vacuous part of Rom's name refers to. This creature is somehow hiding the true nature of the world, and when you defeat it, you don't need insight to see the world for what it truly is. The night moves forward.
First of all, it's a spider.
And after killing Rom, we
it has a whole lot of
access
black-looking eyes.
Home of
I don't like it.
And his school of Mensis. The school of Mensis appears to have grown apart from the healing church and the choir. There is little information on Mikolash and his school, but we can prove that there was a split. Firstly, Mikolash uses the Augur of Abritus, a secret rite of the choir shared among the high-ranking members of the healing church. This suggests he was trusted with this information and was once a sane member of the church. To prove that there was a split between the healing church's choir and the school, we note clear signs of distrust and fighting between the groups. Imprisoned inside Yahar'gul is the corpse of a member of the choir, and inside the Nightmare of Mensis we find who the official guide calls Edgar, choir intelligence. Clearly, the choir was suspicious of what was going on in Yahar'gul with the school of Mensis, and based on what we find there in Yahar'gul, it seems the choir had good reason to be.
Lay down, DJ.
The school of Mensis were attempting to commune with the Great Ones, and they succeeded. As Willem did, they found an umbilical cord. We find 4 cords in the game that allow contact with the Great Ones, and Mikolash had one. This cord granted Mensis audience with Murgo, but resulted in the stillbirth of their brains. As we know, most Great Ones reside in the Nightmare Realm, and whatever ritual they performed with this cord...
Nightmare Realm? No, there's an alternate reality? Is that where they went when they disappeared and left Erebus behind?
ripped Mensis and its students into a nightmare. That's why you find the lecture hall in the nightmare, and that's why there's hundreds of dead students throughout Yahar'gul, all wearing the cage that appears to have delivered them to their harrowing nightmare. Mikolash's corpse provides a gateway
they went
into
to different
the nightmare,
dream realms.
And we find him here, clearly insane, wandering the halls. Mikolash believes that it's possible to ascend towards becoming a great one, citing Rom as his example. Rom, however, is not fully developed, rather she has the blood of their kin. Now let's just go back to Rom for a second. When you defeat Rom, Queen Yharnam appears. She's a Tumerian woman who has clearly suffered a childbirth gone horribly wrong. If this is what the vacuous part of Rom's name refers to, this creature is somehow hiding the true nature of the world, and when you defeat it, you don't need insight to see the world for what it truly is.
I'm getting itchy looking at it.
Forward. the blood moon descends, and after killing Rom, we are finally granted access to what remains of Yahar'gul, home of Mikolash and his school of Mensis. The school of Mensis appears to have grown apart from the healing church and the choir. There is little information on Mikolash and his school, but we can prove that there was a split. Firstly, Mikolash uses the Augur of Abritus, a secret rite of the choir shared among the high-ranking members of the healing church. This suggests he was trusted with this information and was once a sane member of the church. To prove that there was a split between the healing church's choir and the school, we note clear signs of distrust and fighting between the groups. Imprisoned inside Yahar'gul is the corpse of a member of the choir. And inside the Nightmare of Mensis, we find who the official guide calls Edgar, choir intelligence. Clearly, the choir was suspicious of what was going on in Yahar'gul with the school of Mensis, and based on what we find there in Yahar'gul, it seems the choir had good reason to be.
Every time I look at these creatures,
the school of
I just
Mensis
get
were
itchy.
attempting to commune with the Great Ones, and they succeeded. As Willem did, they found an umbilical cord. We find 4 cords in the game that allow contact with the Great Ones, and
Right. So when the Great Ones left, or probably while they were there before they left, they dropped their umbilical cords when they were born, and there could the is it both the church and the college that's collecting the umbilical cords, or is it just the college?
Mikolash had one. This cord granted Mensis audience with Murgo, but resulted in the stillbirth of their brains. As we know, most Great Ones reside in the Nightmare Realm, and whatever ritual they performed with this cord ripped Mensis and its students into a nightmare. That's why you find the lecture hall in the Nightmare, and that's why there's hundreds of dead students throughout Yahar'gul, all wearing the cage that appears to have delivered them
college
to
kind
their
of fell off.
harrowing
Okay.
nightmare. Mikolash's corpse provides a gateway into the nightmare.
There's still the college because we see Master Willem is still around. So there is like a semblance of a college. There's probably not a lot of students maybe, but the church is definitely still around, but the college not so much.
And we find him here, clearly insane, wandering the halls.
Willem's
Mikolash
alone?
believes that it's possible to ascend
lost
towards
Carl?
becoming a great one, citing
Aw.
Rom as his example. Rom, however, is not fully developed, rather she has the blood of their kin. And let's just go back to Rom for a second. When you defeat Rom, Queen Yharnam appears. She's a Tumerian woman who has clearly suffered a childbirth gone horribly wrong. She is linked to the Nightmare of Mensis, to the ritual that Rom was hiding, and she appears in this nightmare looking up towards Murgo's loft, where Murgo and his wet nurse reside. Queen Yharnam hails from the Tumerian civilization that was in power long ago, and she was blessed with a child of the Great Ones. From the way she appears outside Murgo's loft, it is clear that her consciousness, her spirit, was pulled into this nightmare as well. Even when you
Okay.
encounter Queen Yharnam's real self in the Tumerian tombs, the baby Murgo screams whenever you hit her, and even when you kill Yharnam in the tombs, it is clear that she is not actually dead. But her horrific consciousness is only asleep, and it stirs in unsettling motions. Her consciousness seems to be showing up here in the nightmare, completely separate from her physical form. The
So she
same thing
can't
is
even
happening
rest
with
in
you,
peace?
with
She's
Mikolash,
just forever
with
in
the
the
Great
nightmare
Ones
realm?
in the nightmare with you. You all exist in this nightmare that Mensis created. So your next question is, which Great One impregnated Yharnam with Murgo all those years ago? I believe it is formless Erden. The Great One Erden, lacking form, exists only in voice. To cite the fastest...
Wait, how the fuck? Sir, the biology? Did he do it mentally? What the fuck? How? I'm not a monster fucker. I don't understand. How?
evidence to present. There's nothing in the cradle after you defeat Murgo, and Murgo himself, the child, has no form.
Did he develop
Also,
a
his
human
cries
form
are
while
heard
she was
throughout
still a
your
human?
adventure.
What's
He exists
happening?
everywhere. Additionally, Murgo's wet nurse has no form under those robes, and also, the women that are impregnated when this blood moon descends...
He impregnated multiple? Yeah, multiple? How many children did he have?
are all related to Erden, but we'll get to that in another video. When you defeat Murgo's wet nurse, you get a message unlike any other that you've received thus
Wait, that
far.
wasn't even him?
Instead
That
of
was the
prey
wet nurse?
slaughtered, you get nightmare slain. You defeated a true Great One that's elevated its consciousness to the nightmare realm, and the game is nearing its end. However...
Wait. Huh? How did the wet nurse become a great one? You fucking you give birth to an eldritch god's child, I don't know how many times, and you just become a god? Where do I sign up?
All of this should make you think. The Nightmare of Mensis isn't the only dream world I've set foot in, is it? This entire time, I've actually been journeying out from the hunter's dream, guided by land.
The wet nurse is probably an avatar? Okay, so he's controlling the body of the eldrified wet nurse, I guess.
Lanterns that led me to Murgo and her wet nurse, all of which is made possible by Gurman and his doll. Travel to the hunter's workshop in the waking world and seek the truth. Every great one loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Next to the cord is the unanimated doll. Take a hairpin from this real doll and then pass it along to the doll in the dream. When you give her the hairpin, she sheds a single tear, which reads, "Created from the shining silver doll tear, this blood gem is a quiet yet unfaltering friend that continually restores HP, the life essence of a hunter."
Okay. So, based on what I know, if you're dead in the real world, but you still have like unfinished business to do, you just kind of continue to live in the nightmare realm? Is that why the wet nurse is there even though she's technically dead? Or not the wet nurse, like the fucking doll, the doll lady we just saw. Well, and the wet nurse, because there was a wet nurse too, right?
Perhaps this doll's creator had wished for such a
the
friend,
boss.
albeit in vain. It's clear that Gurman called upon the Great Ones using an umbilical cord, similar to the manner in which Mikolash did.
Not really. You get to the nightmare for Great One gets you there. Oh, so you need special privilege. Okay.
Great Ones that inhabit the nightmare are sympathetic in spirit and often answer when called upon. Gurman, lonely and lacking purpose after the church had no more need for his workshop, must have called upon the Great Ones. A Great One responded, the pale moon presence, and imprisoned Gurman within the dream. For while Gurman sleeps, he utters this rare piece of dialogue that clearly shows he does not want to be here.
It's T-pose.
Oh, Lawrence, Master Willem, somebody help me. Unshackle me, please. Anybody. I've had enough of this dream. The night blocks all sight. Oh, somebody, please.
Somebody put him out of his misery. He's
So
begging
for what
for
purpose was the dream conceived? Well, the doll tells us that countless hunters have passed through here, and all of the graves tell us that as well. And Eileen and Jura both have dialogue that is testament to that fact. They talk about how they've been through this dream before as well. So why are hunters being sent through this dream, unable to...
Not gonna lie, that's what kept me from getting super into the lore. Everything is so sad. First of all, we got Lawrence who didn't even get to make up with his master before he died. I think I completely missed what happened to Carl, but I assume he also had a sad death. The old man we just saw, he's like stuck in a nightmare and he just wants to die. We have fucking Ebridas who's just imprisoned. She's just stuck in the basement. They're siphoning her blood constantly. She can't even see her family anymore. And we got the mom who gave birth to one and or multiple eldritch gods. She's just stuck in a nightmare realm. She can't even rest in peace. Everything's so sad.
pass away, just forced to go out into the world and kill beasts.
Never clear what happened to Carl. That's even sadder.
Wet nurse. You return to the hunter's workshop burning down, the dream's purpose fulfilled. Ergo, the purpose of your dream and your hunt appears to have been to slay a great one.
That was terrible grammar.
Three
That's more
endings
sad.
are presented to you. The first. Gurman offers you a way out of the dream. He asks you to accept your death, for if you do, then you'll awaken in the waking world of Yharnam, and your consciousness will be no longer linked to the dream.
Damn.
The trophy for
What a
this ending
slice.
reads, "You lived
That
through
was
the
pretty
hunt
clean.
and saw another day." The second option is to reject Gurman. He suggests that to do so must be a decision caused by madness, and he pits his will against yours to forcibly remove you from the dream. All the while, he entreats you to accept your death and be freed from this dream. If you overpower Gurman, we meet with the Moon Presence, the being that appears to have conceived this nightmare. Just like the nightmare Murgo conceived, it embraces you, and in the cutscene to follow, we see ourselves performing the same role that Gurman did, hosting the dream, likely a slave to the Moon Presence, or perhaps its surrogate child, guiding hunters throughout this dream in an effort to slay other great ones. The trophy for this ending reads, "Captivated by the Moon Presence, you pledge to watch over the hunter's dream."
That didn't seem like a pledge. That seemed kind of forced. And also, eventually, the player character is gonna want to beg someone to kill him too. That's sad.
There's one key thing you need to remember. The Great Ones are a race, but they're a race unlike any other. Each Great One is entirely unique, and they do not necessarily work together. In fact, from the existence of the dream, I'm almost inclined to believe that the Moon Presence is hostile towards other Great Ones. In the third and final ending, you consume 3 umbilical cords and resist the will of the Moon Presence. You overpower it, and in the cutscene to follow, the doll coddles the being you have become. You have ascended, truly, as few have before you. The trophy description states,
I
"You
wouldn't touch
became
that.
an infant Great One, lifting humanity into
It's
its
kind of
next
phallic
child."
looking.
So after the end of all this, you probably still have questions. What is pale blood? Why does the Moon Presence guide hunters towards killing beasts and Great Ones? Which ending is the good ending? For all this and more, you need to be subscribed to the channel. I'll have another video out soon analyzing the endings, and from here on out, the channel should split into 3 main parts. There's going to be the lore hunting series, where we focus on one aspect of the lore and really figure it out. There's going to be Prepare to Cry, which is my favorite series. It's a series where I tell the story of a character within Bloodborne's universe, and there's going to be Things You Missed, which are short, enjoyable episodes that showcase an area of the game and tell you everything that you missed within it. The criteria for these episodes is generally, if I find something I think I missed, or something I did miss, then I include it in that episode. So those are the 3 main series we're going to have. There's also going to be other videos, of course, but those are the 3 main
Prepare to
series.
cry.
I'm still thinking of doing a video on Scholar of the First Sin. Still haven't played that. Huh. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
I actually really like Vadi's videos. Like, they're really in depth, and he seems to like go into detail and to make sure he gets everything that he can on the subject before moving on. It was a nice video.